right, she's coming in. Hi. Hi,
Hello.
Traci.
Hi, Traci.
Hey, sorry about that.
No problem.
We've had our own technical issues in the past.
Yeah, we sure have. So welcome. We're so
Yes,
glad you're
thank you.
here.
Thank you for having me.
We're
Yeah,
so
of course.
excited to talk to you. We've been anticipating this and looking forward to it for quite some time. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So the things that I want to make sure we cover, first, we want to hear anything that you're willing to share. And please don't feel like you have to share anything that you're not ready to share. It's all up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you would like to share about the experiences you had before you reached out to the Dead Files and since. And then I guess that's the most important. And then if you're willing to go into any like behind the scenes stuff, like what was Steve like, what was Amy like, blah, 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 like any of that kind of stuff would be super interesting to us too. So that's kind of what we're looking for. If you have other ideas, other things you want to talk about, that's absolutely cool too. But that's kind of what we're looking for. So
you're driving the bus.
Okay.
We're just passengers.
Oh, gosh.
We'll try not to do road bumps.
Don't feel like you have to run everything. I should say I'm Amy, the producer.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. And then you're looking at the other Amy, AP, and Megan.
Hi.
Hello.
And
Hello.
we're all at my house.
Yep.
So we all had brunch and had mimosas and watched. We only just had one mimosa so far.
I have a
Nice.
mixture.
And
It's
And
one,
then
you
we-
never let it empty and you
Yes.
just keep adding
Yep.
to it. It's still just one.
It's
just
one.
one. Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we are. That's what's going on here. So how are you today? How are you feeling?
I am okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Catherine is at work. She's working at a hospital over the summer.
Okay.
Oh, good.
And David and I went to church this morning, and I'm good.
Good.
So,
Good. All right.
all right. So, I will get into the activity we had before we contacted the show, and it's relevant to our episode.
Okay.
Sure.
We rented a house for 9 years, about 3 miles away from here.
Oh.
And within the month of us moving in, Catherine became sick. And when I say sick, she started with, I think I'm getting a rash on my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned into, within days, she was covered. People were like recoiling from her. She had biopsies, blood work. They couldn't figure out what it was. They were going to admit her to the Medical University of South Carolina Children's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was bad.
Shoot.
And so they finally said, "Oh, well, we don't know what it is. We've never seen blood work like this before." So that was within a month of moving in.
Which is really what you want to hear regarding your child.
And Traci,
Right.
when did you move into the
Right.
house, Traci?
We purchased this home in 2009, at the end of 2019.
Okay.
So I guess 2010 is when we moved in. So we get her settled, and she has a horrific summer. And then she starts seeing things. Now, Catherine's always seen things. Mm-hmm. Even before she knew what they were, she came down the stairs one day, and she was about 4, and she said, "Grandma came and sat in my bed last night." And I said, "She did. Did she say anything?" And she said, "No, she just smiled." Well, she was a year old when my mom passed, so she has no memory of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And no
So
way she would have known who she
Right.
was.
And we didn't give her any extra special attention because of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, okay, this is the thing that happens.
Yep.
You know,
Because you don't
can
want to
tell
freak
me
her out.
Right. You can tell me, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll be done, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when we moved into this house, she started seeing, like, it was full on things. Mm-hmm. And then it started with, we had this figure And it was, imagine a full black mass, and it would lean over you right by your head, and you would pretend that you were dead. You're like, if I can just pretend I'm dead,
right,
then I will disappear somehow. Like, really, that's going to happen. And so
you tell yourself anything to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Did it have like an energy, like a male or female energy, or was it just kind of?
It had a male energy, and it was negative.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
It was scary negative.
Yeah.
And what Catherine and I figured out that at times we would have it come in throughout the night, and what it was doing that night was going back and forth between her room and the room I was in. So it was just going back and forth. I got
like, what was
pushed
the goal?
I'm sorry?
I just said why. Like, what was the goal? Just to like monitor you, or?
I don't know,
Right.
but it was like, pretend you're dead, scary. That's it's the only way I know how to describe it.
Yeah.
And so I lost where I was. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Oh, no, I know where I got. Okay, so it just escalated. I had to, shortly after we moved in, I had to have a surgery. Then I got my first and only ever seeing eye dog because I'm legally blind.
Yeah, Amy mentioned that.
I have no central vision, only peripheral. So I know you're on the screen, but I can't see your face. I have no idea what you look like. I haven't driven a car in 18 years. But I have so many years of seeing that I have this, like, this encyclopedia of filling in where things are missing.
Sure.
So it's hard to tell most of the time, unless I'm trying to read something. Then that goes out the window. So I'm at home all the time. This activity is getting worse. I've got pushed. I had surgery. I got my seeing eye dog. His name was Guinness. He was actually named after my mom, who had obviously already passed, and her last name was McGinnis. She was Irish. So we just shortened it to Guinness because his name was Dave, and I couldn't have David and Dave.
Right.
So
get over here.
He would get so confused. He's like, I don't know that command. Pick up the laundry. So we had to change his name. So that's what we decided on. And shortly after I got him, I had to have another surgery, a rotator cuff repair. So then I heal from that 9 months later. And I'm fully kind of back to what I'm going to get to. And I'm walking my normal route. And all I hear is a dog running towards us. And he gets attacked. And so thankfully it wasn't bad. But that I had to have both my biceps reattached. Because they were torn up because I was holding Guinness in his harness and trying to pull him one way and pull this dog the other way.
Oh my God.
It was so then activity in the house continues to get, and that's when David starts getting attacked. Is when we lived in this house. That's when I noticed he was fighting something in his sleep. And so, let's see. So then we continue to live in the house. The activity continues to escalate. Like, it just is. But I don't have mood swings at that house. I'm fine at that house. I don't have those mood changes. It's just a lot of physical. It's a lot of scratches. I would lay in bed, and as God is my witness, I've had my bed shake. It was like someone was standing at the end of my queen size mattress and just holding each corner, shaking it back and forth. We had someone, it was like they'd go under the bed and kick it up.
Oh my
No.
God.
Oh my goodness.
Like so that house was really physical as far as the activity was concerned. It also was off, literally on the Ashley River.
Okay.
Which is in Charleston was a huge Native American area. Right. And with that river being so close to everything, and plus the history of the South, and where we're located, it doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of, we would hear footsteps on the stairwell. But then good things happen. Like, it's kind of good. My neighbor, who was a dear friend of mine, her cat died, and was going to pass, and she couldn't hold it while it went to sleep. So she asked me to hold it. Yeah. So I said, okay. So that night we heard the cat go up our stairs, because we had wood floors in the house. Yeah. It was like the cat went up the stairs, and then Catherine was in bed, and she's like, oh yeah, he jumped on the bed and curled up at the foot of my bed. So it wasn't all horrible.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So we just become accustomed to living in complete and total fear. And one day I came downstairs and I said, Guinness doesn't look right.
Oh no.
He seems unhappy. But when I saw him and got to know him, I kind of always knew that he wasn't going to live a long life. I don't know how, but I just did. Mm-hmm. So I said, Guinness doesn't look right. So he looks unhappy. So within 24 hours that next morning, we were rushing him to the vet. Oh no. And they took x-rays and did some tests and sent us to a cardiologist.
God.
Wow.
And we immediately went over to the cardiologist's office, and they drained a bunch of blood and fluid and said he actually has a tumor on his heart where his aorta meets his heart. Oh, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I felt the entire time that he was taking a lot of energy for us. Like, I just felt like he was protecting us in that way.
Okay, I see what you mean. Like, he's absorbing the bad energy, so it doesn't go to you?
Oh, right.
Oh, baby.
What a good boy.
And to the point where the guide school, where there's only several CNI dog schools in the U.S.
Correct.
The one I got Guinness from was in Florida. And when I sent them, the paperwork from the cardiologist and all of the information, they said he's the first dog that has ever died of cancer in their program.
Wow.
So that one shook me.
Yeah.
To the point where I'll never get another CNI dog.
Really?
Because I never want to put another dog through that again. So shortly after that, we decide we're going to move and we're going to buy a house. And I start looking at this house, and I'm just drawn to it. And I sit on it for like 3 weeks. And we had an appointment to see several houses one day. And this is the first house we came to. And we walked through it, all three of us. And we said, we'll take it.
It is really cute. I don't blame you. It is, it's so, and it's just so, like, you've really made it. You can tell, like, in the show, you could really see your personal touches and how you've made it, a home. It just looked really welcoming.
Can I interject really quickly, Traci, when you were talking about Guinness passing? I recently lost mine due to cancer. Not a CNI dog, but just my dog. I can tell you that a lot of places will not confirm health-related issues of their dogs passing, so that there's not a negative connotation so them telling you that piece may have been more to protect them than to say, we've never had a dog that's passed from cancer before. I've worked with the kennel that I got my dog from. You can't guarantee against cancer, dogs like that. So I was making faces at that point because I feel like you were told something that is something they can't control, and they can't really tell you the truth on that one. And so I just, especially when you said you didn't want to put another dog through that, but if it's something that's always helped you and it's something that you wanted again, I didn't feel right not saying something. So
yeah, we don't want you to feel guilty like you did something to that dog because you brought it into that house.
Yep.
No, and I appreciate you letting me know that. They made it sound like, he's the only one that's ever. They couldn't believe it.
No.
And he was young. He was only 7.
And I mean, statistically speaking, I feel like that might not be. I mean, how do you have how many dogs and none of them had can't like that statistically doesn't make sense.
They can do some genetic testing, and they can do some things before they breed, mom and dad. So I worked with a breeder. Responsibly bred, but you can't guarantee against things that are not genetic related. And if they are completely hip dysplasia, elbow dysplasia, quote, free in mom and dad, it can still happen in a puppy. So there's a lot of things. And yeah, that's, to me, that feels like a very common thing that some breeders will say, and some places like that will say, because they don't want it coming back to them that they gave out a dog. They used a dog in training and all of this stuff. They put all the work into it. Briggs, my dog, actually sired a litter, and unfortunately the mother had some reactivity. So the entire litter, except for one, failed their trainings for weren't just CNI dogs, but other service dogs.
Oh, nice.
Yep. But unfortunately, they all had to, service wasn't for them. They went into other things because they were having some of those reactions. They're not going to tell people about that sort of thing.
I never would have thought that. So thank you.
Well, no, thank you for telling me that.
I'm like shaking because I was so sad that you were told that kind of stuff.
And I removed so much stuff. Like there's nothing on my mantle. There's nothing on the walls. I removed everything. So thank you for the sweet comment about our house looking cute, but literally everything was gone.
Yeah.
So it looks even cuter is what you're saying.
But now that I think about it, shortly after I got Guinness, he got sick, and we didn't know what was wrong with him. And he ended up being in the animal hospital. And we were at a point where we were going to actually take him to Atlanta because we didn't think he was going to make it through the night. And $5,000 later,
of course,
they still have no idea what made him sick.
Wow.
None whatsoever. So that was interesting. But yes, and thank you for telling me about the cancer, and it does make me feel better.
Was he a golden or a lab?
He was a lab. He was a black lab.
Same as Briggs.
So Amy's dogs are?
Yep, my dogs are all black labs, but labs, one of their highest things that they die from is cancer.
Well, not according to this guide school.
My sister works in a veterinary clinic and helps me with mine, and hers also was a black lab. Had some form of cancer, likely. So, you're not alone.
So to get back to the story, so I don't take up too much of your time, moved into we sat on this house. We came and saw it, and we said we don't want to see any other house. This is it. I don't know what it is, but this is it. Like, this is supposed to be our home, and we are really excited. We move in, and we start noticing the first thing that started happening was smoke detectors. And please know that the one that they showed on this show is like the old hardwired in one. We just haven't removed yet.
Yeah, we have those too.
We do have updated. We just had to take them down because they would just go off for no reason. And one time with one, I ended up just having to take a hammer to it. Then the actual hardwired system, there was a keypad in the kitchen and a keypad in the bedroom. that would go off randomly for no reason. And I would just start typing numbers in until it stopped, pressing buttons. And then one time I was home by myself and it would not stop. So I pulled it off the wall and I just started cutting wires.
Yeah. I've done that before.
So that we had stuff like that start to happen, but then we started renovating. We put in new windows.
Oh,
we put in new floors. We painted. We did a lot of stuff, and we were really motivated. And then we hit a brick wall, and it was like we don't want to do anything else. Like I don't care. Like I just don't care. David was still fighting something in his sleep. I was having my mood swings, which the show made it. I don't really feel like they explained my part well, because I read a comment where a girl wrote, "I looked nuts." And I thought, well, I actually watched the episode and I didn't think I looked nuts.
No, you did not look nuts. Not at all.
My eyes rolled so far back in my head when you just said that. Like,
no, I didn't get that vibe from you at all. I got you were
I didn't either.
Tired of fighting, but not nuts.
What was on the reveal that the show had to cut out due to time was, number one, that I'm an empath, which I know that. Yep. It doesn't surprise me.
We are too.
But because I've gone through menopause due to a surgery I had to have at the old house, the surgery put me into menopause early. Okay. So when I walked in the room and Amy and Steve were sitting at the table, Amy looked at me and she gasped. And I sat down and she said, "How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?" And I said, "I'm 45. And she wrote it down in her book. And my guess is she thought I was much older.
Yep.
And she said, "You're an empath, and because of your hormones, every single wall you've ever built up is gone. Oh, it's like you are completely raw." Excuse me. So everything that is outside, everything that's inside that I'm feeling is like, it's not mine. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that, because it just seemed like it was all at once when we moved into this house. I mean, I went to my neighbors and they're replacing their floor, and they were talking. I bent down and I touched the old flooring, and this has never happened to me before, never happened to me since. And I have no idea what it was. I touched the flooring and I immediately stood up. And by the time I stood up, I had tears in my eyes. And I put my hand over my mouth. I'm like, "Oh, I have to go." Mm-hmm. And like, I ran out of their home crying. Now I'm 45 and they're in their 30s. Mm-hmm. This is not a normal response and situation, but they have activity at their house. So it was not a shock or surprise.
Okay.
I wonder what the previous owners of their house went through.
I do know they had a little boy died of cancer in that house.
Oh no.
I don't know any other history about the house. And it's funny. I said to my real estate agent, as long as this house isn't haunted. It's like, no.
That's funny, because when I moved into my old house, I asked the realtor if it was haunted, and she laughed and she's like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, because I kind of wanted a haunted house." And then later she was like, "Okay, well, I didn't know why you were asking, but yeah, the previous owners have seen stuff."
There's actually like laws and different things about, but that's not really something in most states that has to be disclosed, because it technically can't be proven in a court system. And I will just mention quickly, and that's why we drink. Recently covered a few episodes ago this actual thing about haunted houses, and you can't. I mean, this like preconceived notion about a house, you can't put that kind of stuff out there. Even some of them can have, like, if a murder or other crimes have happened in those houses.
Well, I did know that the woman who previously owned the home was older, and she passed from natural causes in the home, which I'm fine with. I'm all about hospice. My mom passed with hospice, and I was there. Her best friend 13 years later passed of hospice, and I was there. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
So that didn't bother me. I do know she broke her leg, her femur, in the area where that campfire.
Really?
Group. Yes, because my neighbor came home and found her, and she had been laying there for hours.
I'm guessing she must have slipped
because at this point she lived alone.
Yeah.
She was painting a birdhouse.
Okay.
And she fell off the ladder somehow. So the smoke detectors, and then we hit a brick wall, and we also would hear noises coming from the attic, and we knew someone was in the attic. Catherine hated the way it felt up there. It didn't bother me. I was just neutral about it.
Okay.
I was respectful when I went in there, kind of in a weird way, but
I totally get that.
Yeah, it didn't bother me.
Yep.
But then Catherine was seeing, orbs of light over her bed that would shoot into her closet.
Oh,
she one night had this black dog wolf thing. It was in her face, and it was almost like it was going to bite her.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so real that it woke her up. And when she rolled over, she saw Guinness sitting next to her bed.
He was protecting her.
Like he was there to comfort her or protect her.
That's
me. I don't see anything. I'm just, losing my mind.
It's really interesting you said that though, Traci, because in a lot of cultures, especially in Europe, there is a black dog that is known, like it's an omen typically. So with some of the things that were shown in the show, I wonder if this smiley face guy came through in order to scare Catherine in that manner as this black dog. This is just my curiosity wondering. And Guinness is still around you guys because Guinness feels that I'm a firm believer that our dogs watch over us and they send us what we need to heal at some point in time, or they come back to us. And
right.
I just, he hasn't left you because you guys need him yet.
Well, it'd be nice if he'd show up next to my bed, but he's
ask him to.
He's like, showing up next to her, but she has always seen stuff, and I have always felt stuff.
Yep.
Another interesting thing here that we didn't talk about was there's so much residual energy.
Yeah.
In this area that we would hear mimics of each other when I knew Catherine was in a class. I would be in my bedroom and I would hear her say, just like she was standing 4 inches from my ear, "I love you."
I hate that. I hate mimics.
And I don't know how many times we would say to each other, "What did you just say?" And we're like, "Nothing." That all the time. And so she explained it's, the residual energy. They spent like 3 or 4 minutes talking about slaves.
Yeah.
Runaway slaves.
Yeah.
And they tied it to the slave patrol that was on the side of the house.
Yeah.
What they didn't mention, and it surprised me, was that Amy said there were 2 slaves stuck in the tree in the backyard. Because I would walk out there 100 times, it'd be fine. I would walk out there 101 times, and that last time, the fear just enveloped you.
Wow.
Okay.
And you immediately felt like, I need to hide. I need to get in. I need to get away.
Right. Oh my God.
And so we would come inside. And what it is there's 2 stuck in the tree, but in this area, there's multiple, because this used to be marshland.
Right.
There's multiple slaves. And so when the fear comes or we feel it, it's because there's more than one. And so that's why she said holy man. What she left out was that I needed a black male medium and a holy man to spend the day pulling the two out of the tree and calling it all the other ones that may be around who want to go.
Oh, that's so awful. Those poor people.
Yeah. So try going, looking in the yellow pages for a black male medium.
We were just
joked about that earlier.
Yeah, like how do you find a demonologist? You don't just yellow page demonologist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there is one, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that we were talking about this earlier too, that just because you find someone doesn't mean that they're legit and that they're not going to charge you a fortune. I mean, most people who do this don't charge anything because they just want to help people. But we have talked to other clients before who have gone and found a medium or a shaman or whatever, and they're not who they say they are. They charge a fortune and they make things worse. They piss off the spirit and make things worse. So how do you even know how to find somebody or how to find somebody legit? I mean, that's really hard.
Right. We actually, when I started my search we needed a black male medium, we needed a holy man, we needed a demonologist, and we needed a medium or a psychic who was also a Reiki master.
Who you got bingo is what you're saying. You got bingo.
Right. Who would need to come and clear out the group of men in the, this slave patrol. And it would take a minimum of 3 times, but it could be more. Wow. So, that was our list of stuff to do. Meanwhile, David, it wasn't enough that he just left the house. If he left the house, we had to have all these things in place and ready to go. If he just left the house and was gone for, Amy said, a month, 6 weeks, what would happen is this psychopath he would just find somebody else. And who can do that?
Right.
To somebody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not like David's going to be like, all right, good luck, everybody, and then leave. Right.
And, people on all these pages, they're like, if they said I had to go, I'd pack my car that night and leave. Really?
It's not that.
Would you really?
There are some that seem a little bit more simple. This one is not as simple, especially since there was a lot of information that was left out that's key. We were talking earlier, you tying that you tied the bow on who those men in the backyard were because that wasn't clear.
No, they didn't do it in the show.
Which is why you saying that you needed a black male medium to come in for that makes a lot of sense, but also makes sense why they cut that out because they didn't tie the pretty bow around what was going on, and it just to me it felt weird. I didn't know who those people were, but yet Amy was telling you this is what you have to do to get rid of them.
And she talked a lot about them during her walk, too.
It was an odd editing of the show, I thought.
I feel like this season they've had a new editor or something, or a head editor. Because it feels like a lot more is being left out in the reveals than has in the previous years or previous seasons.
I agree. This season's different.
Where it just feels like Traci, I'm so glad you came on because there were so many questions that I'm already oh, thank God she answered that already because there wasn't a connection piece. And unfortunately, that puts you in that position where people are trolls on the internet and they're ignorant and they're rude and they're just choosing to be well, she's just dumb. I don't understand.
I would have done it. And it's really? What if you don't have another option? We're not all billionaires who can just go and leave and live
into a
else.
Titan submersible.
Right.
We can't afford the next county over, their weekly rate at the hotel.
Right.
For months and the help.
Yes.
Mind you, the list we were given.
Yeah.
Because I did start to search for after kind of the shock went away, which took several days. it just recovering from the filming.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
Because every time they came for 3 days straight, and each time we had to move the dog and all of his food in his crate, and he's a German Shepherd.
No.
So he's a big dog.
Probably also has a little separation anxiety.
Yes.
Yep.
The 2 cats, their kitty litter, their food. Catherine, it was the first week of exams.
Of course.
For that semester. And the nursing program she's in is extremely hard.
Yeah.
So it was the worst time.
Yeah.
So it took a minute to recover. And then we started to look for someone. And I went to every metaphysical shop my neighbor and I did. She drove me.
Oh, that's so nice.
They knew nobody.
Really?
They had no recommendations. Yes.
Wow.
Then I came home and I started looking online, and I called this one woman who was in or around where I live. And she somewhat seemed, not even somewhat, she kind of seemed like she knew what she was talking about without me giving her any detail. And like she could handle it.
Okay.
To the point where I'm like, okay, the 3 of us, let's go meet with her.
Yeah.
I've made an appointment. Went, paid money. We sat down. We met with her, and she was completely full of crap. And Catherine and I looked at each other, and we were just like, I don't even want to embarrass her and call her out on the fact that, you just gave me some line of BS. Yeah. And then you just gave me some several $100, amount to come to my home after I've just paid you over $100 and something to sit down with me, and you could fix it. And I just thought, I can't do this again. Yeah. I can't afford to do this again.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Traci.
That's really awful. People are the worst.
Yeah.
They just prey on anybody.
They're going to have to answer. I mean, you're going to have to
eventually
yourself.
Yep.
Eventually you'll have to,
this
whether it's karma,
stupid,
whatever it is.
I mean, could you search on Facebook or, somewhere like...
Oh, I did. You would think. Yeah, and what I think it is people are fine working with good energy, but when it comes to something that might be a little bit negative, they're like, no, thank you.
Yeah, understandable, but still.
So they did leave out the 2 slaves. What she was saying is the group of men around the campfire knew that they were dead, but the one main guy she could see did not realize that he was dead. Oh. So he's trying to motivate this group of people, and she's hearing, no, not again. No. I can't do this again. And it's because these people know they're dead and they just want to go, but this guy is somehow holding him. And she said he's creating some kind of energy she's never seen before.
Oh, wow.
And she can't explain it. And it's on a daily basis.
How fun.
Well, that's interesting too. How did she mention anything about how these guys might have died then? Because if they're all around that campfire, you would assume that it was sometime around that time frame, knowing that these were marshes and that sort of thing. Did a boat capsize? She
didn't mention how they died.
These men are slaves, right? They're not the KKK.
No, these are men who had no choice, because the legislature here said at some point in time you're going to have to go on one of these patrols and look for runaway slaves.
There were 2 runaway slaves that were basically treed. They were in the tree. There was no way for them to get out. And then there was these 12 to 13, which, by the way, 12, 13 can be, specifically 13 as an omen in a lot of cultures. You think about, a lot of that aspect. I happen to love the number 13.
I was born on the 13th.
Love it. So. I love Friday the 13th. It's
I do too.
favorites.
It's never been unlucky for me. It's been lucky,
it is something that is noted throughout history. So there's a lot of really interesting pieces where I wonder how some of your history or your culture or maybe your past lives are coming through with some of that, of like the symbolism of those other pieces? Because obviously you mentioned, you know, like you have a strong faith and earlier, and maybe there's just pieces of those that are coming through from that are just resounding, because I haven't heard a ton of that from Amy in the past about talking about like the black dog or the number 13 or any of those things that are perceived as quote bad omens, unless it pertains to maybe a Native American culture.
That's a really great point, because now that you think about it, I don't recall her ever kind of mentioning what you just said. So I'm going to say this, and I say this with complete respect and understanding. I think Amy knew when she got here this was going to be her last walk. I don't think everybody else knew.
Okay.
Got it.
And so there was just a lot left out. And so not just of the editing part, but like she walked through our entire house and she mentioned nothing about Catherine's room. She mentioned nothing. She usually sleep in the spare bedroom or the guest room. She mentioned nothing about that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've lost my mind. There was no talk about, you know, her like seeing like some hysterical woman. She thinks she lives here. Right. You know, she's like batshit crazy, whatever. So I think it was more of like, let's get this done. And then she was gone.
Yeah.
Like, gone.
Yeah.
And then when we were sitting at the reveal, she asked my daughter, Catherine, to write down my name and number in her small book so her assistant could vet and help me find people. And she said, you know, it may be a month or two. It just depends. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so that's why I actually waited for help to start looking for help. And then the call never came. And then I called the producer and she called me back and she said, basically, I'm working on something else now, another show currently. And Amy, don't say anything, but Amy left the show.
Oh, geez.
So good luck to you.
Oh my God. Jeez.
But see, and like Amy and Megan in the past have interviewed a few others who have kind of said similar things, only that at this point, Amy was still on the show, but that they were struggling to get in contact for the help that was offered to them.
To no fault of Amy's.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times Amy didn't even know that they were not getting the help that they were supposed to. And the client would reach out to the show, and the show basically treated them like they didn't exist.
Right.
And didn't reply to them and didn't try to help.
Yeah.
And then one client, I think it was Randy, who was having a hard time getting somebody in. And he finally went to social media and tagged Amy Allen. And she was like horrified that they hadn't done anything. And so then she got in contact with him and she got somebody for him personally. But the show apparently does that once they leave your house,
you're done.
You're kind of dead to them.
They will make you like, okay, I'm from the South. We're very welcoming people, you know, and we're very honest people. Like I remember Steve said GD in my house and he was standing like in the kitchen and I was in the living room and I said, Steve, did you just say GD? And he said, I did. And I said, no, sir, you better find another word. And he said, well, can I say GD? And I'm like, no, something completely different. I don't care what it is, but it can't be that.
Yeah. Steve has a potty mouth.
So do I.
He was so nice.
Good.
But everybody made it so it seemed like you wanted to welcome them in. Once they were done, that was it.
It's a show in production and we're done with you.
Yeah. And we are done with you. And we have stirred stuff up. So what happened is after the show, I ended up having, and I'm jumping forward and because there are still things left out of the reveal.
Yeah.
That are interesting. So let me just go back to the reveal and I'll get to this later. So the guy who died in the hit and run, he basically hangs up upstairs. That's why we were hearing so many things coming from upstairs when we kind of
like the attic area.
The attic area, yes, that's where he stays. And so, but he will come down, and it almost hits you like a tornado. His energy, you'll get like dizzy and nauseated, and sometimes it'll last a minute. Sometimes you're like, where's the Dramamine? The nausea is too much. But she said he's the night watchman. And what happens is every night he will go systematically through the bedrooms and check on us. And so in the reveal, they tied it to, well, he was in the military. He did kind of have that aspect about his personality. But when he would interrupt the evil guy, this evil guy is so old, whereas the hit and run guy just passed in the 80s, that he puts the hit and run gentleman into a state of depression and suicide, which is why you hear her say, well, now he's like acting weird. Now he's brandishing a gun. I don't know what the F is that. That's what is happening. And that's what was explained at the reveal.
Okay.
So every time I started to lose my mind or I got depressed, it just all played off of it. So I thought that, and she said, right now it's actually a good thing that guy's here, because he has interrupted several times. And
the scary guy or the attic guy?
He has the scary.
Okay.
It's a good thing that the attic guy's here because he's interrupted the scary guy.
Protecting you.
Several times. He does pay the price for it. But he still does do that. She went on to talk about the evil guy. The evil guy, his family. She honestly said, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. They are basically a long line of psychopaths.
Oh, geez.
And it's funny. And what's interesting is they let David listen to the reveal outside through a microphone in his ear. So hearing all of this and knowing he's by himself hearing this was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
They didn't let him in the reveal?
They would not let him in the room.
Why?
That's weird.
Is it because the evil guy had targeted him?
No.
That's weird.
I think for Amy, for her being in the room, Steve and two other people along with the film crew were enough for her to handle with COVID.
Got it.
I think that was her limit.
Yeah, that could be.
So he did get to listen to the entire reveal. He was just outside.
How long was your reveal when you were sitting there?
It was close to 4 hours.
Wow.
And it goes by so fast.
Yeah, sure.
Because
you're like all this information coming and coming and coming, I can imagine.
And so I think they really skipped over that part. As far as because I said to David, do you know that family? I know the name, but I don't know any of them.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I know of them, and I know that they would cut you as soon as look at you. And I thought, oh, okay.
This is the guy with the eyes sewn shut, right? The smile?
Yes. So, and what else was left out was that he was previously someone tried to deal with him. At some point, he was dipped in tar. His eyes were sewn shut, and he was dipped in tar.
No.
And that slowed him down, but it didn't stop him. So at some point in time, that did happen to him
in life.
I don't know if it was an African voodoo type of situation. with the spirit, like, or I don't know if somebody, 100 years ago was having issues with him and knew it and tried to deal with him. Amy didn't know.
Wow.
She just said somebody tried to, and so that's why his eyes were so shut. She also was really not happy about, she was hoping the quality of the drawing would have been better.
Yeah. Wasn't great.
So better than that one though, Amy.
The sketch artist was cute, but he was not as good as some other people.
Yeah. So, she said, like I said, David had two options. He could leave, just, I don't know, pack up and go ask, somebody somewhere, can I stay with you or stay at a hotel and while we do all of these things we need to do. Meanwhile, you still need to go to work. Catherine's still going, to school. It's like,
you still have to live your life.
And then if you do that long enough, then this guy will just go to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I suppose he could even follow David.
Yeah. And that was the thing. David had to get far enough away.
Okay.
Which is another thing.
Right.
Like, his work is in this county, or I don't know, maybe it butts up to it, but anyway, it's it's not too far away.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of factors.
You can't just pick up and leave.
Right.
Most people can. I mean, realistically.
So I'm still confused about who this Smiley guy is. Is he the judge, the original, or the owner from that they talked about, who's the judge who had the wife and all those kids who passed away?
Harriet was the wife.
Yeah.
She made it sound as if it was her second husband.
Because the first husband died before she moved on to the property.
Because her first husband was Ronald, I think, wasn't he? I think so.
I don't remember. But just because she talked about his hair being in the bow and all that, and it made me think of, if he was a judge, if he was this guy, although maybe her second husband was a judge too, or a lawyer. Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
But that's who they made it out to be or sound like it was her second husband.
Got it. Okay.
But in watching the show, I don't know. Is it the son?
Yeah.
Like,
I was wondering if it was the son.
Oh.
To be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and then you say like the long line from what we saw or from the genealogist is that the second husband only had one daughter with her, Nell, who died at the age of 4 of whooping cough. But the son, her oldest living son was murdered, which we didn't really, that one wasn't really touched on, but there was some form of argument or something that happened and was that my brain went to, was it him? Or was it the person who killed him?
And they didn't tell us about how he died or any of that. Okay. I learned that by watching the show.
Like with the main spirit, they do more information on them.
But she didn't get enough on who he was.
True, she didn't. But he sounds like
there's a lot of loose ends.
And so behind the scenes stuff.
Here we go.
Spill it, Traci.
I have to say the producer, Emily, did her job extremely well.
Good.
Now, she was extremely nice. She came over the night before they were going to start to meet us by herself and just kind of lay things out, how they were going to work.
Yeah.
And so we knew what to expect. And I was actually outside. Amy did her walk, and then we did our interviews. Yeah. I don't know why they flip-flop it, but
I know they did the same thing with Annie from 2 episodes ago. Amy was there days before Steve showed up.
It changed.
So somebody new is on the show, I think, because this season is so different than the previous 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm disappointed because that sounds ungrateful to the people who have written in and maybe not been responded to. So I don't want to sound ungrateful by saying I was disappointed in the but I was hoping for more information.
Yeah.
Of course you were. I mean, you don't call the dead files for fun, you know?
Right?
I thought you did.
I mean, we try, but they keep blocking our calls. I don't get it.
And I look like I have the longest face the entire time I'm on the show. And really my favorite thing to do is laugh.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about that kind of stuff, you can't like go, and this happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then all the
no big deal.
haters and the trolls will just come after you. I mean, they're going to come
after you.
They're going to come after you
no matter what.
Well,
right.
I mean, you've already experienced that, but
yeah.
The subject matter is it's hard to talk about, so I would understand why you would be, you know, not a jovial person at that point, because you're talking about what you're, you know, saying and hurting your child, and it's like no mother wants to do that.
But Traci, I will say, just from my watching of it on Thursday night, and then I watched it again this morning before we chatted, it was, you have a genuineness to you.
Yes.
I can't say that about every client that we've seen on the Dead Files, and I think I've watched every episode and some more than once. There is, you know, we all talked about having some empathic behaviors and whatnot, and we've all seen a psychic together, but one that I've gone to several times, and she's told me several times that I've put up a block, I've put up walls, I've put up boundaries, and I don't take I know when people are lying to me, and like I don't get that feeling from you at all. Like
or Catherine or David.
No,
I mean, they're all so genuine.
Which, by the way, on a happy note, Catherine's gonna need to be carded for her entire life. Like that girl is, she's got the cutest baby face.
She does,
and I mean that in the most positive way. But just know that she's gonna be 40 and she's gonna need to be carded.
Yeah.
She's like a copy and paste of you.
Yes.
Like, literally, they took your face.
She's a mini you. Yes.
There's a little David in there, but you can definitely tell she's your daughter.
Yeah.
But that was just my...
Yeah.
There's a genuineness about you, so everybody who's going out there and wants it, they just want... They want to stir the pot. They want to put drama out there. And I am catching myself from swearing because I understand that and I am a sailor when it comes to swearing. So,
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. First of all, Catherine will not watch the episode.
Oh,
she
really?
Well, she was mortified. She didn't want to do it anyway, but she knew we needed to do it.
Yeah.
She's a very private person.
Yeah.
Like, her resting face is not an approachable one.
It's an RBF. It's fine. I have that too.
I have that too. My husband is always
I
like, why are you so mad?
I have a certified degree in RBF.
My husband's like, why are you so mad? I'm like, I'm literally sitting, like, I'm not mad. I'm literally just sitting existing.
I am just thinking.
I'm like, I can't get mad if you want me to.
Keep at it, and I will.
You want something to be upset about, I'll give you something to be upset about.
I'll be upset if you want me to be. Like, it takes 30 seconds.
Sorry. We get derailed.
No, it's fine. She has put up so many walls, I think, because she has seen things for so long.
Yeah.
That
you have to.
Yeah. And she's tried to turn off her light. And I think it's as dim as it's going to get.
Yeah.
But I think she's always going to see things.
Yeah. And I'm surprised Amy didn't touch on that either, because she usually is so concerned with, or not concerned, but interested in when people have abilities like that. She always talks about it. So,
but it could also be that Catherine has already put up a lot of boundaries, a lot of walls that she protected herself from. Whereas in a lot of cases where it is somebody who doesn't know how to protect themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
So 2 cents.
Yeah, and I didn't even ask Amy because I did not want that attention on Catherine. Yeah. Catherine did not want it, and I was going to respect her completely. But I was not going to go, oh, and by the way, could you tell me, does my child have abilities?
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that.
No.
I know what, the last, almost 21, this month she turns 21.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. I will pass that along.
Read strangers from the internet wanted to say
Minnesota.
But I know what she has been consistent about. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not for attention. Mm-hmm. She's over it. She's tired. Yeah. She's, she's over it. So I'm really actually extremely thankful that Amy said nothing about her. Mm-hmm. It drew no attention to her. Mm-hmm. And that was the best that I could ask for.
Maybe that was something that Catherine was putting out and Amy picked up on.
Amy sensed it.
We've seen it in the past where Amy's like, I can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was just something that it was like this doesn't need to be shared.
Mm-hmm. I bet she is in tune to that.
So yeah, she's like David, where when you talk about telling the truth and being an honest person, like, mm-hmm. David calls me a doormat because I'm too nice because, we don't want people to suffer alone. And all of the good stuff that comes along with that. They're like, nope, no is the sentence. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yep.
That's hard.
So she is really stoic when it comes to, and she doesn't let people run over her. So hopefully she won't have the long face. But she's like, I look 12.
She does look young.
She does.
And I'm like, well,
that's good. She'll love it when she's old.
When you're 40.
Exactly. That's what my mom always used to say.
When you get into things for the teenage prices when you're almost 30, you feel real good about it.
Right.
Take advantage of it.
And she doesn't usually wear makeup. She does, like her hair's usually in a messy bun. Mm-hmm. She is not, she's not a frou-frou mm-hmm. kind of girl.
I'm relating to your daughter so much right now, Tracy.
She's like sweatpants, t-shirt.
Oh my God.
Yep. When she's at home.
Yep.
And when she's at work she's in.
Yep.
So, and she's not caught up in social media, which I don't know how he managed that one.
Yeah.
Probably because I was home all the time. Mm-hmm. She doesn't, she's not into, like, she'll scroll through some, but it's not
an obsession, like me.
An obsession.
Mm-hmm. I'll look at things, but I'll never comment because I'm like, it's not worth the energy to get into arguments with people who will never see my viewpoint.
I still haven't learned that.
Absolutely.
I still say, but I don't fight with like political people, but when people in the Dead Files group say stupid stuff, I'll correct them. I'm nice about it.
Oh, this
but I'll correct them.
See, that's the problem is I can't be nice all the time, so therefore I'm like, don't put yourself in that position, Amy Marie. Like, just back out, and then someone pushes me to the point, and I'm like, all right, listen
up,
and then I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I don't get. It's hard not to get into arguments because
for sure.
There's right and wrong, and you want to set the record straight, mm-hmm. and you want the truth out there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to just go. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter, right. And not do it.
Right. Yeah.
I saw every excuse in the book as to why Amy left. Mm-hmm. I think it was, from my understanding, from what I was told, it was her health.
Yeah.
It was her health wholly.
Yeah.
And she, like, I'm like, we broke the show.
You broke Amy.
Not only do we have all of this, we broke the show.
No.
I honestly did say that. And so then it was like, no, I called and was told what I was told. And then I'm like, well, we have no help. And it just went downhill from there.
That's so bad.
So, but I'm sure people are going to be like, I can't believe. And one thing I did is so David and I moved into the spare room after the show because I said, which it wasn't played. I don't know. Thank God. Because I said it like 50 times. I'm like, he's never sleeping alone. He's never sleeping alone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Again. So he moved into the spare bedroom And about a week or two after he moved in, I thought, let me put a camera that I have just sitting in a box on the shelf in the room and see what happens. And you can set it to where it only records if it's motion.
There's motion. Yep.
So now this is after I was literally like shoved out of bed, and I woke up as I hit face down, like in between my bed and the wall. So anyway, so I put this camera in, and I am appalled at what I see over the next few days. The camera David is on the side of where the camera is. So it's not like an end from the end point of view. It's from the side of the bed, and it's on front of David's side. And I don't know how many times it's a lot of kicking, and I am sleeping through I don't even know. Like, I'm sleeping through the entire thing.
And you're sleeping
and I thought I was
next
a
to
light
him,
sleeper.
right? Like
and I'm sleeping next to him. Yes.
Yeah.
You see my head on the pillow, and he is like kicking in the air. He has kicked off the sheets. I can send you the video once we get off. Just so
if you're comfortable.
I don't want you to share it with anyone.
No.
This is just what it looks like on camera when you're trying to fight something that you can't see. So I have a recording of that. There's a recording where an orb just shoots out of his stomach.
What? Out of his stomach?
Literally out of his stomach through,
and did he have any
goes up.
Pains or anything the next day?
No, he's like, he's tired all the time, which with her saying he's laying on the couch, absolutely, because he's
fighting
tired
for his
all
darn
the time.
tootin' life.
So on a very much lighter note, what mattress do you guys have if you're feeling any of this?
I think it's just I have to take so much medication now to go to sleep. Like, I am so scared. Well, I was. Now I'm like, whatever. I'm done.
I mean, you get to that point where you're just like
being afraid of you.
Yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Right. I know it's still affecting David. We are in the process of working with, actually, I went to my priest. We sat down and I told him what was happening in our home. And it's funny, but Charleston, most dioceses like Catholic dioceses have one exorcist for that whole area.
Oh, wow.
The Charleston area has, he said 4. The woman told me on the phone 3, but just our area alone has that many.
Charleston is like super duper haunted.
So
it's an old city. A lot of people, a lot of turmoil and stuff with all that.
Yep. A lot of histories
and stuff.
Well, we can also put out there if anybody is able to help you, that they can contact. The activity continues, and maybe there's a way that we can, if
anybody listening knows anybody,
the blackmail medium to help with the people out in the yard or any of that sort of stuff. And we don't like scammers. So.
No. I will say, Tracy, my dream city to live in is Charleston, and my aunt lives in Isle of Palms, I think. But
does she?
Yes, I absolutely love Charleston. It is my favorite city, and I want to retire in South Carolina.
I mean, I want to visit because there's a lot of cool restaurants that I want. And the history. There's a lot of history. I love
and they have cobblestone roads. It's just, oh my God, I love Charleston
that
so
probably
much.
Holds on to a lot of the history because that's known.
I just love it. I love Charleston. So
it is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's stunning.
And
the history and
I read somewhere that they have an ordinance that you can't build a building taller than the Capitol.
That wouldn't surprise me.
It's just, I just love it. Oh my God, I just love it so much.
But I mean, you walk through the old slave market.
Yeah.
And
I don't love that.
They usually, but the part that's open to the streets, it's where a lot of vendors set up. So there's great pieces of jewelry or art or things, baskets that are hand woven.
I do love that, but I don't love that.
This life, but
it's funny. We did a tour of the jail here.
I think I did too.
Which was, supposedly, well, not supposedly, it did house the first female serial killer.
Oh,
in the U.S. was the Charleston jail.
I want to say exciting, but not anything.
When I tell you we felt nothing there, it was like, now we have to go back home. It's worse at home than it is.
Yeah.
Oh, they just felt like, that vibe. Nah, we're not going to mess with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible, but we caught on camera, we did catch the guy upstairs.
Oh.
In an orb form.
Really?
And he came into the room, comes around the corner, stops at the foot of the bed, right at the center, like he's checking on David and I, and then it just disappears.
Wow.
Like
That's
he's
so
doing
sweet,
his rounds.
Though. That's nice to know that, you have something there that's trying to help you.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, he's being attacked. When I say every night and when I send you the video, you're going to be like, oh my goodness. And I hope you do an edit to this to go, oh my goodness, that's scary.
Yeah.
When you see it in real life, what people go through and what it looks like. When I say, oh, he's fighting someone in his sleep, I'm not talking about you're moving your toes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so there a lot of orbs, a lot of shadows. It got to the point where I finally just unplugged it.
Wow.
I didn't want to see it anymore.
Yeah.
I bet.
There was nothing
I don't
could
blame
do.
you. I mean, you can't do anything. Why would you want to watch your partner go through that?
Right. And David, he was a fireman for well over a decade, about a decade and a half. He has seen, because they're first responders as well here. Yeah. So every car accident, he has seen it from burned bodies to, coming out the car windshield. And to him, it's like, oh, if I don't see a bone sticking out, then you're not hurt, right?
Oh my God, it's my dad. Like, my parents are the same way. My mom's a nurse. My dad was a teacher and a coach.
Yeah, they're like, you're fine.
Yep.
Walk it off. It's fine.
Right. That day Catherine started that rash, I said, David, I think she needs to go to the doctor. He's like, I'm sure it's fine. It's probably bug bites.
Sounds like my mom.
That afternoon, he knew it wasn't bug bites, but that's okay. No bone was sticking out, so she was all right.
There was no blood, no bones. We're good.
Right. So he, he's a guy's guy.
Mm-hmm.
For him to hear, they could have left out some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And put in other relevant stuff that was more interesting to the story, I thought. But no, that's happening to him all the time. And, he has medical blood work and stuff that shows he's got issues that were unexplained. And now we know why.
Yep.
That's how bad it is.
Wow. Oh, that's too bad.
But other than that, I really am a nice person. I'm the doormat. So I've started to learn to set boundaries.
Good.
Good for you. Good.
So
I need to learn
and
that.
And mood swings they're kind of, for the most part, they're gone.
Good.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm like, that's not mine. I did a lot of stuff around here. I got some stuff from my, our Catholic church to do. And as far as that part goes, those are basically gone. The fatigue still here. The fatigue is definitely still here. You have no drive to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I need to hang this. And, 6 months later, I'm like, I need to pay the mortgage. Yep. I need to pay the mortgage. Well, it's going to be late if it's, and the money's sitting right there. Right.
Yeah.
It's just, there's
no desire.
There's so much no motivation, which I know I didn't say that right.
I get it. We get it.
that you don't care what the repercussions are going to be. You just have no motivation to do it.
Yeah. Right.
It is just ridiculous. So that was that. I'm excited to see, I guess, I saw a post where, because I don't follow her, but I saw in, I think one of the discussion posts, she's opened a shop or done something. Yep. She didn't even remember how many episodes she did. I thought, yeah, haha. And I was sitting here thinking help was, just a month or two away.
Yeah.
But apparently she's opened a shop, and I'm anxious to see how Cindy does.
I am too.
We are too. We really are. I will say we were just talking before this, and we were kind of miffed that the Dead Files didn't do anything for her. I mean, they didn't even do like an on-screen text for her last episode or like anything. We were just kind of miffed. Like they couldn't even, say thanks so much,
for 14
Amy.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will tell you this. Number one, the chemistry between Amy and Steve, it was bad. It was bad.
Oh, really?
To the point, at one point, they started to argue whether slavery still exists or not. And
I'm actually not surprised by that.
Not from his post.
Changed, I looked at Amy and I was like, so anyway, you were saying the, kind of thing. That was, I think Amy she was just done. Yeah. And that's fine. If she wants to be just done, that's perfectly fine. There was so much information. They could have made that a 2-hour special, dedicated the last 10 minutes to all of the, things she's done or whatever reel they wanted to put together to say goodbye.
And they did nothing. Nothing.
I was hoping they'd take me off screen and put her saying goodbye but I think it was immediate and both parties were not happy and I think it was crappy they didn't send her off with anything, with any well wish, any thank you, any,
without her, they wouldn't have had a show for 14 years. So,
right. I do know that she co-produced the show. And I remember the first episode, that woman, the woman who said she was an energy healer, and Amy's like, you've got no, I don't sense any abilities.
I love it when she calls people on their baloney. Like, I love it. When she's like, actually, no.
No.
Like, one of my favorites I remember was at the Lizzie Borden house, and she moves the sofa and
finds a Ouija board.
And finds the Ouija board, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
What is this doing here?
Yeah.
And and we were told when you walk in, they're going to be sitting at the table. Don't say anything to Amy. Like, she can't keep her focus.
We've heard that.
Whenever she's talking, you have to let her go wherever she's going to go, and don't ask any questions until we prompt you to. So that was, but the chemistry between the two. And so then they were like, okay, we're going to COVID test you.
Yep.
3 days before we arrive. Okay, that's reasonable. Then they're like, well, her walkthroughs tonight, we're going to spray your house for COVID. I'm like, really, I don't even know what that is.
Yep.
But okay, I hope it's safe for pets because,
that's what I would be worried about too.
Yep. And it left a smell that is, I can't place it. And it's funny because I can't see, I usually am great with smells, hearing, and energy, like being able to read people because I can't see them.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, so you're going to spray my house. That's fine. Then it was, well, we want you to test the morning of the reveal. Now, this is all 3 days. Yeah. And I understand testing. I do. But we don't rapid test every time we swallow the wrong way.
Right. Well, and especially because none of you tested positive. Like, I get it if somebody had been, had a cold or something like that.
Symptoms.
Recently just had my grandparents came back from a family gathering in another state, and my grandpa tested positive and my grandma tested negative, but when they tested 5 days later, it was flopped.
Yep.
So I get, but somebody was sick.
Yeah.
There were symptoms.
There was a reason. Right. It wasn't just testing for fun.
So the night before the reveal, actually, it got really bad. I had the producer and co-producer in my entryway in the house, and I'm on one side of the gate. We have the gate up for the dog, and they're on the other side. And David's like, I don't know if she'll even talk to you. He let them in. Like, it was bad.
Wow.
And it was all over this COVID testing, because it was like, when is it going to stop?
Yeah.
We've tested, even we had to have a specific test at a specific place. You sprayed my house with God knows what. Now you want me to test again. It's my nose isn't dry from their first swab. You asked me to.
I mean, even the CDC has lifted their guidelines, and you just treat it like another illness,
So, that part, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I was not going to fold. And the only and I asked the producer, I'm like, do I need to, like, is there something that is so bad here that I need to do this? She's like, yeah, there is. But I was not going, like, I was mad.
I'm sure.
Because it was
That's a bit
ridiculous. Much. And then you sit down at the table, and Amy and Steve aren't getting, you can tell.
I wonder if Steve knew that she was already had one foot out the door.
Because I feel like their chemistry has been good up to then. Like, we haven't heard this from, any other clients. Not that we've done a ton, but the ones that we haven't said anything.
I think it's because he has more of a conservative view. Yeah. She's more, she's from, I don't know if she's from California. I don't know where she's from.
She's from Denver, but she lived in California for a long time.
But she's got a more liberal, left-sided view, and Steve's more right-sided.
Yeah.
And so I can see where they would, clash actually kind of easily, because she's seen, and we're sitting at the table, and she just starts vaping.
Yeah,
during the reveal.
I don't like that.
She did mention that it has become. She was trying to quit smoking, so she went to the vape pen. But now she's more addicted to the vape pen when she was.
And
trying
she's
to...
still smoking, and she's still smoking too.
Right.
So yeah.
So but nobody asked me about that.
That's kind of rude.
Hey, is it okay if someone vapes in your house? No, but she's at the reveal and she's just vaping. And I'm like. Okay, then
that's
at the reveal.
She gives 0 Fs at this point.
She really does.
She does not. And at the reveal, she pointed to me when she was talking about this evil guy, and she said, "He doesn't give an F about you, and he doesn't give an F about you." And she didn't say F. She said the entire word. Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, you just pointed at my daughter and said the F word.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the South. It's manners and hospitality, and you don't
cuss.
Do that.
Yeah.
It's just not a courteous thing. Right. I mean, Catherine she looks 12.
Right.
And we don't talk like that. Right. We don't just throw that around. A bone better be sticking out or ready to stick out. I'm kidding. It happens.
Yeah.
But it's not a date, in every sentence kind of thing. So, but she was like, he doesn't give an F about you, and he doesn't give an F about you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
that's aggressive.
But I think some of that, I think some of that is how she manages when there's energy present in the room too, because you can hear her voice change when she's talking about specific. Like she gets a northeastern accent when she talks about specific things. And I don't know, this is my thought, is that somehow that however she changes her way she talks, or her lingo, or the affliction in her voice has to do with dealing with something that's there. I mean, some of it's probably her, but I mean, I swear like a sailor, like I've mentioned before, but I think that there's potentially something that plays into that, especially when you watch throughout the different seasons when she does things. And like this episode, it was every time she said the word exhausted, or exhaustion, there was a change in her voice.
Absolutely. And I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's not polite.
So it was just, I think she was trying to make the point.
Yeah.
That, listen, you may see him as a shadow figure. He may be out. It's funny when Cass, she was doing her interview, they did let me sit in the foyer so I could listen to her interview. Okay. And, which was heartbreaking to say the least.
Sure.
But the co-producer kept coming in and going, because she was describing whatever was at the window as a creature.
Yep.
And I don't know what Amy saw on her walk. I don't know if she said maybe a slave or was at her, has been at this window. But Catherine would not change it because that just wasn't the truth.
Right.
It is what it is. And to your point, your very gracious point you made earlier about us, like, just seeming to be honest. And because I can't see, and it's been so long, things just are what they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can't fix it.
Right.
Like, I mean, some things you can fix, you can work on. But for the most part, it is what it is. You take it or leave it.
Right.
And so Catherine's like, I'm not changing what I said I saw.
Right. Good for her.
So I don't know what Amy said that she, was outside. And so I wonder if she said there were slaves outside her window trying to get her attention or something. Mm-hmm. But Catherine kept saying it was a creature. Mm-hmm. And that would not come across well.
Yeah. And I think, there's been so many episodes where we've seen where, and this is, again, in previous seasons mostly, where Amy describes something and Steve goes and finds the something, and he's like, well, is this the person you saw? And she's like, no.
Yeah. No.
Could this be who you're talking about?
No.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. There's that connection. So it's really interesting that they wanted to, which, also doesn't surprise me about wanting to the narrative.
Yeah. Better.
But I also don't think that, I feel like Amy wouldn't find that to be disproving of what she does.
Right. And I feel like Amy's all about the honesty too, and she wouldn't want to change what she saw or what Catherine saw to, like Amy said, fit a narrative or fit what they want. Because Amy sees what she sees and she tells you what she sees.
Mm-hmm. And that's all she can do.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would give almost anything to have a transcript of her walkthrough.
Oh, yeah.
And the reveal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because when you're sitting there, we don't have a recording of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It's hard
why.
Like Amy said,
I didn't have
so much information.
Right. And then we can't write it down.
Yeah.
We can't. And then you're shell shocked.
Right. Yeah. They should have given you a copy of that audio at least.
We have. So it was, and I was so in shock that Catherine will be like, yeah, she said that at the reveal. And I'm like,
they're more concerned about the money, and that's why they won't but even after your episode airs, it's like, why can't you be given a transcript or let known what all transpired through that, rather than, I understand there is a business there, but it seems the facade of helping people.
Business is to help people, and if
it's a facade to help people.
But if you're promoting that you're helping people and then you're not taking steps to actually help them, that's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
I don't know. It worked out however it was supposed to work out.
That's a good way to look at it.
At least I know why.
Yeah.
Some of the things were happening here. After that reveal, I woke up every morning. And as God is my witness, I would walk past the door to the attic, which is in the laundry room, and I would say good morning, thank you for watching. Oh, wow. And I did that for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I need to stop doing that. Not because I don't want to be nice, but I need to live in this world, and they need to live where they're supposed to live and go.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry, we talked about the slaves, and it's funny. Like 2 days after they left, we have a statue that has been leaning against a tree in the backyard for so long that it has grown into the tree.
Okay.
Wow.
And it's been fine for the entire time we've lived here. It's scary. It's of a little girl. I just don't look at it, but it's right there.
Yeah.
2 days after the filming, it was completely broken, sliced across where its Achilles tendon was.
What?
At the front door.
Oh my God.
As God is my witness. I just picked her up and she put her back. She's still there.
Wow.
Since the episode last Sunday, Catherine's battery died. This Sunday, our TV in the living room. We came home from church, and this is the second TV in this house that we have the sound, but then we lose the picture, and the TV's done.
Wow.
Weird.
Different brands of TV, because everything is electric,
Yeah.
The issues we have seem... So, we lost our living room TV.
Jeez.
That we lost that today. The guy upstairs, I heard him stomping yesterday like crazy. Like, it's not happy. I heard David last night, like, he sleeps in the spare room on the weekends, but during the week when he has to get up so early, he sleeps in the master bedroom, and I sleep in the spare bedroom because it doesn't do any good. Like, if I wake him up every 5 seconds, then he's not sleeping.
Right.
I'm not sleeping. Nobody's sleeping.
Right. Yeah.
And it just doesn't make for,
a
happy, restful, right. But I heard him last night, and it's just been, my neighbor's like, we're just waiting for the next thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
An unrelated question, but what are the names of your pet?
So, Catherine's German Shepherd, he's 2.5 years old. And I say Catherine's because I had Guinness.
Yep.
And once I lost him, I said I would never get another dog, another animal. Like, that's how traumatizing.
Yep.
And I haven't. But Catherine never had a dog of her own because animals seem to come to me for some reason and not to her. I mean, in our old neighborhood, I had a duck that would come into our house.
Oh my gosh.
Mom, fun.
She would sit on our porch until we got home. Like, it's the strangest thing. So I wanted to make sure she had her own animal. So she got, at the worst possible time, brand new 8-week-old puppy. When she started her, I guess, sophomore year. So maybe he's right before she started her sophomore year in college. So to add to that stress, we threw an 8-week-old puppy in there. So now his name is Mr. B because she was going to call him something that started with a B. And she's like, no, I think he's just Mr. B. So I call him BB King. He's mostly black. He's beautiful.
Oh, nice.
With the Belgian shepherds that have that black and then have like brindled legs or the brownish legs.
And what's funny? My brother, he works for a canine department.
Okay.
He heads a canine department. The first time he came over when Mr. B was older, like not in the puppy stage anymore, my brother, I guess, didn't come in with an alpha attitude. Came in with a, sweet talking, but Mr. B cowered. Like, he knew my brother was this alpha, and it was the most odd behavior. And my brother went outside in the backyard with him and said something in I don't know, German, I believe.
German, yep.
I don't know if it was Laos or whatever it was. And Mr. B did it. I'm like, seriously? Seriously.
Wow.
Like, I will fight you for that for, a good 2 minutes before I finally give up. He says one word, you've never met him, and you're like, you drop it.
It's the energy.
Get out of my face. So we have Mr. B, and then we have 2 rescue cats who are sisters.
Okay.
They came from the same litter. And one is a dilute calico.
Okay.
Oh,
One is a regular calico. And their names are Sprinkles and Shadow.
Stop it. That's
cute.
adorable.
Catherine was young.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Does Mr. B get along with the kitties?
Shadow really loved Guinness. She would get on the ottoman with Guinness and curl up. Because Mr. B was a puppy and Guinness was trained not to pay attention to cats. I think that's why she liked him. Mr. B's like, oh, I want to paw you to be my friend. I want to play. Sprinkles, after 2.5 years, is like, okay, I'm tired of being behind this gate that goes into this living room. My mom's in there, so I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
I've got my claws.
Yep.
And I am coming out. Now Shadow is starting to come by the gate, but she hasn't. The gates are open at night and he's crated, so they have run of the house. But he loves them. He just doesn't know how to be soft.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to be easy.
That's the way it is with my toddler and our cats. He loves them. They do not reciprocate.
Oh.
He wants to be their best friend, and he's always like, and he runs over, and they're just like, get away from me, and they flee. Really.
My sister's cats are pretty good judgments on dogs, and they come in and they with Briggs. She has one, G, and G is kind of a gray and brown tabby, but she would just and rub. She would flirt with Briggs, and
That's how Sprinkles is with Mr. B.
He was convinced that she is like the devil, and he would sit and stare wherever she was. You always knew where the cat was. Well, most of the time, and he would sit there and stare. And then he'd be like, Briggs, she went by you already. She's upstairs.
Yeah.
And he would just be like, no, I'm pretty sure she's downstairs. I'm pretty sure she's right there. And he would just sit and stare. He never did anything with them, but he was just like, I don't understand what this is.
That's
cute.
How funny. Speaking of see things, one thing they left completely out of the show, and they interviewed my neighbor that they just didn't air, which I told her they weren't going to have her on there because there was just too much information.
Yeah.
And every episode I watched of this season had 3 people, and it was usually the homeowners. So that she got off the hook for doing this 9 months ago. But she and Catherine both will have seen I'm assuming, what are the slaves in the tree. And Catherine's described it. It's like blacker than night. It will block out the moon, kind of, and Jamie has, said the same thing, but they left that part out, I guess, which it really isn't important. She said, doesn't matter what you do, it's always going to feel heavy and weird because of the history.
Yeah.
You can move whatever along. Don't move the guy upstairs along until everybody else is gone.
Right.
Because he's kind of a protector.
Yep.
So it just, meanwhile, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap up. We've been talking quite a long time. But we want to thank you so much, Traci, for joining us and giving us all this good information.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your time and everything else that you provided to us. I think it's really beneficial and helpful for us to understand a little bit more and as people go along so that we can continue to help support each other.
And hopefully you can find some relief soon. We really hope so.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to be on because I think it let me clear up a lot of things.
Yeah.
Number one, I really am not a narcissist who thinks only about themselves.
I don't come across that way.
Never even thought about it. You've all met narcissists, and you are as far from them as you can possibly be on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be poor David, and I'm just going to be me.
No. You can hear your voice in the episode be like, oh my God, was I just thinking so much about myself? But you have to think about yourself too. Like, you can't forget about filling your cup. If your cup's not full, you can't help others.
You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you help people.
Great. Are we now crashing a plane?
I'm just saying it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
We're a great comedy duo.
We're here all week. Tip your wait staff.
Yeah, no, I mean, the mood swings were really bad.
Yeah.
And once I started looking for help, they got really, I mean,
Oh,
I
of
thought
course.
they were bad before the show.
Right. Because he
After
doesn't
the
want to
show,
be put out. He doesn't want to be obliterated.
It was, I was, yeah, that's a whole other episode. And you don't have that kind of show, but no, it did definitely spike after they left. But I do appreciate you letting me, and I know we've been on a long time, and I've talked the whole time. I am so sorry.
No, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely perfect.
But I did want. I'm glad I could fill in the stuff I know they had to edit because they only have so many minutes.
Right.
The behind the scenes stuff, I can tell you they were nice when they needed to be. I don't know if they're genuinely nice or not because I haven't had contact outside of that. Steve and Amy definitely could butt heads just because of, say, what side of the line they may fall on.
Right.
And the things haven't, nothing's improved really except the mood swings. And I really am excited about Cindy.
Yeah.
I hope she can at least, for people who are just finding the show, they catch up and watch all 15 seasons and then, they can continue to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do something next episode introducing Cindy.
I hope so.
I hope, I mean, I feel like they almost have to because you can't switch over after 15 seasons.
But I think that's why they started labeling her, Amy, and Steve at the beginning of the last couple episodes. They had never done that before, and they put the names in, and I think that's where that's coming.
Oh, I saw an orb, I think.
Just now?
Yeah, but not on your screen, with the two people.
Oh, I just saw it. I just saw one go between.
I did do it flip, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I wasn't paying attention.
I caught it in my peripheral, so
that's
sorry.
Bizarre.
Well, again, thank you so much, Traci. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And really, I really enjoyed myself.
Good.
And I would love to sit and chat with you ladies again.
Okay, well, we'll do it. Yeah. We'll do it for sure.
Definitely.
Anytime, please send me a message and I'll send you the video. So please take care.
Okay, so good. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a suggestion for which episode of The Dead Files we should cover next, or if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when The Activity Continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.